Welcome to the Sherm Show, riveting interviews, authors, creators, and movers and shakers. Today we have author and good friend Bill Hoeft,
Hey,
and
how are
we're
you?
going to be talking about his book, Live Like Lion and Love Like Ellen. It tells an amazing story. It's in Iowa City. It's a Johnson County story. It's a local story. We're both Johnson County people. The story is set in Johnson County. Got published in Johnson County from Ice Cube Press.
Yep.
Steve Semskin, and it's a great story that we're just going to talk about, and I think it'd be fun for anybody to read it. I'm going to read your bio a little quick, Bill, and then we'll just get started so people can kind of get a glimpse of who you are who may not know you.
Sounds good.
Bill grew up in Des Moines, where he attended Lincoln High School until the end of his junior year when he and his mother moved to Monroe, Iowa. It was in Monroe that he met Maya. Is it Maya or Mia?
Mia.
Okay, sorry. Mia Clevenger,
All right.
his wife of 27 years and counting. After high school, he attended Buena Vista College, and Mia went to the opposite end of the state to attend the University of Iowa. 2 years later, he joined the U.S. Navy in 1988. After boot camp, he married, packed up, and moved to San Diego with Mia. Honorably discharged in 1991, the couple moved to Iowa City, Coralville area. When Mia got accepted to medical school at the University of Iowa. Most of Bill's adult life has been spent in service of people. He has served as a police officer, an educator, a correctional officer, as well as in the Navy. His volunteer activities have included coaching numerous sports for children ranging in the age of from preschool to high school. He served as an elder at his church and is the father of 3 children, Morgan, Rachel, and Will. So that's quite a bio. Good start. Anything else you want to add to that right off the top, or?
Yeah, some of it's been updated, but that's you get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Years, you add some years, and you know.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So all that background is in service, police type items, correctional education. Did you always want to write a book? Was it a lifelong dream, or did you just sort of fall into this?
I always enjoyed writing. I didn't like the academic part of school at all, except for the writing. It kind of resonated with me. I'd make up stories and write them, and that was the one class I usually did pretty well in school. No, I don't know. I originally started writing screenplays after I was done with teaching, and I decided to be a stay-at-home dad. I needed something to fill my time. You know, obviously you're busy pretty much all day, but you do have a little bit of downtime if they're taking a nap or whatever the case. So I started just doing some writing, creative writing, wrote a little poetry, and then started writing feature-length screenplays and would take them out to Los Angeles and pitch them. Got a little bit of interest, but nothing where it'll always be, well, we like it, but we've got this already, or we like, it's always, really the town of no, which I'm okay with. I don't mind a little adversity, that's fine. But the writing is very cookie cutter on those. You're formatted very specifically, and it's not, you write it at a Hollywood agent's level, which they have the attention span of a gnat. So you have to catch them quick, and it's kind of boring writing. So I decided to transition into the book and into a book. I didn't know what. I was kicking around for about 6 months, and then all this jumped off with Ernie and his family, and I just was drawn into it, just everyone else was, at the time. I just reached out to him, told him, you don't know me, even though we went to the same church, we didn't go to the same service.
Mm-hmm.
Know me. I've never written a book before, but I want to write your family story.
Mm-hmm.
That was the approach. And then we just went from there. We met once and we talked about possibility of telling the story, and we just struck up a friendship immediately. Yeah. And I was so taken by not only him, but the entire family. They're such wonderful people. You just want to hang around them because they're so cool,
That's a perfect segue into, I had a short blurb I wanted to read out of the preface that Ernie wrote. It's very moving, and I think it's the accolade on your book. If no one else were to like this book, this would be the job well done statement right here. Ernie found.
I can't read it without getting choked up.
Ernie, for people who don't know, Ernie Found is the patriarch of the family, and he told the story. This is the story that Bill wrote. But he wrote the preface to the book and endorsed it in every way, which is a resounding yes, that it's what he wanted to see done. But he wrote this talking about just meeting Bill, and Bill said, hey, I want to write your book. And it was a little emotional for Ernie, and he wasn't sure he really wanted to do it. But he did say, we met at the house. He said, we started with a short conversation at my house. After we spoke the first time, I kept inviting him back. During my conversations with him, I discovered a reliable, trusted friend. His heart began to beat in rhythm with all of ours. His sensitivity and intuition became almost comforting. He became someone I know has my whole family's best interest in his heart. And wow, yeah, that makes me cry, and I don't know the family at all.
I know, right?
When you
Yeah.
write a story that's as emotional and then deeply profound as this, and the dad says that, it's something else. So what did the process look like? You started going over to the house, and how did you write this book?
I had no idea what I was doing. So it was literally, I started talking to Ernie, and he would tell me just one amazing story after the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I was going to have to talk to more people than Ernie, and he gave me, I don't know, 10 names.
Uh-huh.
And I reached out to him, and I started, so it was probably, I would say, the interviews and then transcribing and then sort of organizing my thoughts and how maybe I wanted the book to go. Now that shifted, obviously, as you know, it shifts as you, it's not a static thing, but I just started, I interviewed people, and I interviewed over 200 people, and I would say probably a 2-year time span. Wow. So the first two, it took me 4 years to complete it. And the first 2 years were probably, I would say, mostly just interviews and sort of wading through all that information, because I would record it on a little hand recorder and, you know, one of those little digital deals, and then plug it into the computer and transcribe and then go from there. So that was a fun part of the process. But also tough, because it was a grind. You just had to go back again and keep transcribing.
Well, I think it shows through in your work. I mean, you really tell the story of their whole family beyond the volleyball or beyond the sports aspect, which is an amazing part. But that's kind of really what the people might have seen the movie. That's what the focus is on. It feels like you grasp the whole family, the whole town, a lot of different aspects. I want you to go ahead and explain to us your title, Live Like Line, but then also the tagline or the subtitle, Love Like Ellen. Because I think from just what I know is that was kind of the motto, or became the motto, of trying to live up to the person that Caroline was. But go ahead and explain the title and the Love Like Ellen part.
Well, Live Like Line is sort of self-explanatory, and it took on really a life of its own. The Love Like Ellen part is exactly how she'd want it. She's more in the background, you know. She doesn't need all the accolades. She doesn't need, but she loves you. I mean, Caroline's friends, strangers to Caroline, who she wanted to reach out to. You know, she lived a very charmed life, a very blessed life, and she was appreciative of that and wanted to share that with people who were less fortunate. And that's really how the family lived their lives. So Ellen was the driving force behind that. I mean, she never met a stranger. She was always there to help.
And Ellen was the mother, correct?
Yes, Ellen was the mother, and just an incredible, loving, warm human being, and just so giving of herself in any way, you know, to the school or to church or to, you know, whatever the case. I mean, she was always right there, right in the mix, and just ready to put her hands out and help out. So,
and she was quite ill when all this happened with Caroline, correct? And then passed away.
Yeah, there's a part in the book about she was really, they were anticipating, she was basically with hospice at the time, and they were anticipating that she was not going to make Caroline's funeral. And but as it got closer, there was, you know, bigger chances and a bigger opportunity that might happen, and people got excited, and then it did. And the chapter of that book was very, very difficult for me to write. I don't handle death well, first of all. So we have 2 deaths of 2 amazing women, and I'm having to wade through that. So I actually had at that part, I had to put the book away for at least a month. My wife called me on it. She said, "You're depressed." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You haven't changed clothes in 2 days." I said, "Okay, you're right." I said, "You know, I isolated myself down the basement trying to wade through all that stuff." So very emotional, but she did something very miraculous at that funeral so she's in a wheelchair. She's frail. I mean, she really can't even walk much. Stopped that wheelchair on halfway down the aisle to go sit down for the funeral, and demanded to stand up and walk. And it was just, oh my gosh.
Wow.
It just, if there's a dry eye when you read that, you know, You must be the Tin. You must be the Tin Man because you're better than me. I can't hold up with it. Yeah, incredible stuff all throughout the book. Is just, and it's not me. It's just that was the situation, and that's what was expressed to me by so many people, that how awestruck they were by it.
It's just such an inspirational family. I mean, they're facing such tremendous pain that most of us would just buckle under. How did they do it?
Ernie, it's interesting. He was honoring them. So every event, anytime, and there were numerous, I don't even know how many. I don't know if you could count the amount of invitations he received in that first year to come speak or to come be honored, or to be, they have the Live Like Line Award at West, and they have all kinds of things, the run that they have and all that stuff. And he was always there. He always made time. And I think that helped him, for the amount of people that just expressed and poured out that kind of love. I mean, he was just accepting of it, but also giving of it. Is really a symbiotic relationship with that family. You give as good as you get with them.
Yeah. Well, even amongst their family, like you said, did all the invitations. I noticed on the back of your book, it says a community's journey from tragedy to triumph. And I didn't know the family at all, but I live in the community, so it started out as just a news story to me. I remember when it came across her accident, and as a parent, it's just those kind of things hit you in the stomach, because it's like, it's shocking and horrible, and losing a child at that age, and but it affected the entire community. What did you see as you noticed that, and why you used that statement? Just seemed like it did affect the whole community, many who didn't know her.
Well, it was an amazing journey, and there were so many people who wanted to share. Even the volleyball players, I could only really get to 6 of the seniors, but everybody was just so giving of themselves and just wanting to tell you their story, their found story. Either it was going out to the farm and hanging out, and riding a tractor with Ernie, or playing in the barn that Ernie turned into a massive game room for teenagers and kids, or swim in the pool, or whatever it was. It's just an amazing group of people that, and this was the resonating statement from people that knew them. I felt like they're my best friends. I mean, people consider them because that's how they make you feel, like you're their best friend. I mean, they've got a great example of that is the first time I met Caroline. The first time I met Catherine, rather, her older sister. She was home from school, and we were going to do an interview at a coffee shop, and we did our interview, and she's an amazing young woman, very poised, for age. I think she might have been, 22, 23 at the time. But at the end of our 2 or 3 hour interview, we were out in the parking lot. I said, well, goodbye. It's great to meet you. And stuck my hand out, and she knocked my hand away and came and just give me a big hug. That's just who they are.
Yeah.
They're just so genuine and so loving of people. It's awesome.
Yeah. I think that's probably why there was such a ripple effect with her.
Yes. 100%.
I'm going to read this quick thing. A statement you found on chapter 5 that was from Carolyn that is amazing now. Children have neither past nor future. They enjoy the present, which few of us do. So stop and smell the roses, sing to yourself, and enjoy what we have while it lasts, Caroline found. I mean, that's incredibly poignant, knowing how short her life was. I mean, she obviously had a vibrant spirit, something that affected everyone who knew her. And it was obviously on the volleyball court. They've got such an amazing story with the championships, but it just feels like your book captures all the bigness of her heart and everything else. Why do you think it's important to share stories like this?
Well, especially now, with what you're seeing and the madness that's going on, and just, the devastation of what's happening and the fallout from it. And also when you throw in, situations with police, and you see video. I mean, there's a lot of anger and a lot of angst and a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of ignorance in the world right now. And I think Caroline would have been appalled, and she would have done her level best to try to just infuse that love in the world. And she, what I say is, people say she lived such a short life. Chronologically, she did, but she did more in 17 years than most people do in 70.
Yeah.
You know, she was really just high energy, go all the time, and always on the lookout, always eyeballing the kid that was in the corner by themselves. Didn't have anybody. She would draw that person into her circle because she hung out with the cool kids and the athletes, and she'd drag them into their circle and make the cool kids hang out with them and made them a part of it. That's, man, if we could just capture an eighth of that, you know, we'd be doing all right.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I noticed the thing too about the Found family has a cool thing out east. It's Mount Monadnock. Tell us something about that mountain, about their hiking, and you got to be pulled into the family tradition a little.
Yeah, thank goodness, and also at the same time, it was a struggle. That was, you know, I wasn't in great shape at the time, but they go and they would hike this mountain. This is where Ernie and Ellen were married, out in New Hampshire, and to celebrate, they hiked Mount Monadnock, and it's called a hiking trail, but it's difficult. And if you're if you're not in good shape, you're going to be huffing and puffing and grinding and struggling a little bit. You know, that was the case. But they did it every year, rain or shine. It didn't matter. They took the whole family out. It didn't matter if they were on Ellen's or Ernie's back at the time or charging up on their own. Every single year they went out there, and they were remarried out. They renewed their vows out there. It's just such a huge connection for the whole family, and they're from the East Coast, so they have family that they would link up with, and it was just a really amazing time when they would go out. And even when Ellen got extremely sick, and even into the last year, she demanded to go, and you know, didn't turn out so well at that trip, but they were there, and they were there together, and they were, you know, so the year, it was the year after her and Caroline's death, Ernie had decided that he would invite some friends and family out and inter the ashes out there. Out at the Cathedral of the Pines is where they were actually married, which is not far from the mountain. Just a small car ride. Then you can actually see part of the mountain from there. So it was a huge place for them, for their family. They still go out. Ernie has a place out there now in New Hampshire. It's not far from the mountain. But yeah, I was invited out for the year memorial, and I'm so thankful that I got to speak with family. I got to speak with his dad and his mom, and you know, his dad has since passed, and I think his mom recently passed too. I can't recall, but at any rate, they're wonderful. Just as you would imagine, Ernie and Ellen to come from. They're just incredible people and giving of themselves, and told amazing stories. Ellen's sisters were just wild. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them, and they were all just. It's the kind of group you'd want to sit around at a restaurant just to listen to their conversation because they're so much fun. But that hike was rough. It was rough. Yeah, and we got some weather coming down, and we got the whole experience for sure.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you really became close with their family in the process, it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Greg was away at the oldest. He was away at working for ESPN at the time, so I didn't really have a lot of contact with Greg. But he was, you know, when he was in town, he would, you know, if I needed some answers or something, or had a question, he was always right there for me, and very supportive of, you know, everything going on. So,
So what would be kind of your final comments on the book? Your family, how has it affected you, I guess?
I would say that knowing Ernie Found his family has made me, Ernie in particular, has made me want to be a better man and a better husband and a better father, and, you know, just everything. I mean, I just, you can't help but feel that way when you see the type of person that he is and how he carries himself and the love that he has for his family and his fellow man. Quite honestly, he's an adventurer. He's a trickster. He's a magician, really good magician. He's a prankster. He plays the piano he's an amazing pianist. Wow. Just an amazing guy. So really, and just seeing Iowa City and how they reacted to the whole situation, and it just, you know, really connecting up, and through the volleyball team and through the family and through the city, there was this connection that whole year. And I think it just helped everybody, and it elevated everybody through that tragedy. So it's a very rewarding process, and I'm thrilled with the product, and Steve Semken was great to work with. Press. So I was very happy with my first effort.
Excellent. So what's new for Bill? I've got another new works coming, new books, or?
I am kicking around a couple of ideas right now. One of them may be a wrestling themed book. I don't know yet. I've always wanted to try that because it's such an incredible sport.
We're in the wrestling town.
Yeah, and I have a lot of contacts. So I mean, it would be, I wouldn't want for interview time with people.
Right.
Or I was thinking about maybe sort of a more of an autobiographical thing about my journey to being a stay-at-home dad and having to overcome my own shortcomings with regard to how gender was perceived and now it's perceived. It was a big transition for me.
Oh,
so I thought I'd like that as well.
Good. Those would be great.
I don't have a copy of your book yet, so I gotta get one still.
I can take care of that for you.
Over here on my bookshelf, though.
Yeah, you got a spot for me up there. I'll send you an email later with the link. That's a good segue. Where can people get your book, Live Like Line?
I believe you can still get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I think you can still locate it. So there are spots you get it on Kindle. I think on Amazon as well, or Barnes and Noble as well.
Or probably off the Ice Cube site.
What's that?
Maybe on the Ice Cube site too.
Yeah, Ice Cube. They probably have some left. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity too. It's been great.
Thanks for sharing with us. I hope more people get your book because it's kind of life changing. It's an amazing story that needs to be read. The deeper story beyond the volleyball. That's what I would call it. So
thanks so much. I never call it a sports story. I always call it. And I think the best sports stories are always not about the sport. It's about the relationships inside of this sport. So, but good luck on your book too. I'm anxious to give it a gander. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another Iowa City story. The Beer Money book. That was the Lost Iowa City Tale. So we'll talk about that one another time. But that's great. So thanks for coming on the program and telling us about your book. Thanks for writing it.
Thanks for the chance. I appreciate it, and I just appreciate you doing this. This is a great format.
Hey, no problem. You have a great day. Thanks a lot.
You too. Take care.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.